I didn't notice when the distance started. That's the part that still bothers me. If there had been a fight, I could have pointed to it. If she'd yelled, slammed a door, accused me of something, I would have remembered. But nothing like that happened. It just shifted, and I didn't see it in time. When we first met, everything felt simple in the way simple things usually aren't. Her name was Claire. She asked thoughtful questions, not the kind people ask to fill silence, but the kind that made you stop and think before answering. I liked that. I also liked that she didn't rush me. At that point in my life, I was busy pretending I wasn't tired. We met through work, different departments, same building, different floors. We started having lunch together by accident. At least that's what I told myself. The truth is, I started timing my breaks. Claire had this calm presence that made everything feel less urgent, not exciting, not dramatic, just steady. I didn't realize back then how rare that is. The first few months were easy. We talked about books we never finished, trips we wanted to take someday, old relationships we both pretended didn't still matter. She listened when I talked about my job. I didn't listen as closely when she talked about her fears. That should have been a warning. She told me once, quietly, that she'd learned not to ask for too much. I nodded, like I understood. I didn't ask what that meant. We never officially moved in together, but her toothbrush stayed at my place. Her sweater lived on the back of my chair. Her coffee mug somehow became mine. I told myself that meant we were solid. I told myself a lot of things. The first crack showed up in small moments. She'd ask if I could take a day off to go somewhere with her. I'd say, maybe next month. She'd ask if we could plan something ahead. I'd say, let's see how things look. She'd ask questions that didn't sound like questions, and I answered them like logistics. I thought consistency was enough. I showed up. I didn't cheat. I didn't lie. I thought that was love. One night, she asked me something I wasn't expecting. "Do you see this changing?" she said. I was tired. It had been a long week. I said, "Changing how?" She didn't answer right away. That pause should have scared me. "I don't know," she said finally. "I just feel like I'm waiting for something that never arrives." I laughed softly, not because it was funny, but because I didn't know what else to do. I said, "We're fine, Claire. Why are you overthinking this?" Her face closed slightly, not angry, just guarded. That was the moment. I didn't realize it then. But later, I would replay it over and over, wishing I'd chosen different words. After that, she changed. Not dramatically. She stopped asking certain questions, stopped lingering in doorways, stopped bringing up the future unless I did first. I told myself she'd finally relaxed. I was wrong. She started spending more time with friends, taking weekend trips without me, coming home with stories I hadn't been part of. I told myself this was healthy, independent, balanced. What I didn't realize was that she was learning how to live without me while still being with me. One evening, we sat on the couch side by side. A show played in the background. I couldn't tell you what it was. She was scrolling on her phone. I was answering emails. The room felt quiet, but not peaceful. She looked at me, really looked, like she was memorizing something. "Do you ever feel like you're just passing time?" she asked. I shrugged. "Isn't everyone?" She nodded slowly. That nod still haunts me. A few weeks later, she told me she'd been offered a position in another city. Nothing dramatic, just a fact. I congratulated her. She waited. I didn't say anything else. "You don't want to ask anything?" she said. "Like what?" I replied. She smiled, but her eyes didn't. "I don't know," she said. "If I'm going, if you'd come, if this matters." I hesitated, just a second too long. "I think you should do what's best for you," I said. It sounded mature, supportive, reasonable. She nodded again, the same nod, the one that meant something was closing. That night, she didn't stay over. She kissed me at the door, soft, polite, like someone saying goodbye without saying the word. I stood there after she left, telling myself I'd done the right thing, that love shouldn't cage people, that time would sort things out. I didn't know then that time doesn't fix distance. It just makes it permanent. And that was the last normal night we had together. Last week before she left felt unreal. Not dramatic, not emotional, just quiet. Claire didn't bring it up again. The move, the city, us. She moved through my apartment like a guest who already knew the exit. I told myself that meant she was handling it well. What it really meant was that she'd already decided. I waited for the moment where she'd sit me down and say something definitive. I thought there would be a conversation. There usually is in movies, but life doesn't follow scripts. The night before she left, she came over to pick up the rest of her things. 2 bags. That was it. Everything we'd built fit into 2 bags. I helped her carry them to the car. The air was cold, not bitter, just enough to make you aware of your breath. She opened the trunk, paused. "This is the part where you say something," she said quietly. I looked at her. I had 100 things in my head. None of them came out right. "I don't want to hold you back," I said. Even as the words left my mouth, I knew they weren't what she was asking for. She closed the trunk slowly. "I was never asking you to," she said. "I just wanted to know if you'd walk with me." We stood there. Cars passed. Someone laughed somewhere down the street. Life completely uninterested in our moment. "I care about you," I said. She nodded. "I know," she replied. "That's why this hurts." She hugged me then, longer than the last time. Not desperate. Final. When she pulled away, she touched my face briefly, like she was checking if I was real, or maybe making sure she'd remember me clearly enough to let go. "I hope you get everything you're working so hard for," she said. I smiled. "Me too." She drove away. I didn't chase the car. I didn't call her name. I stood there convincing myself this was what strength looked like. The apartment felt wrong without her. Too quiet, too neat. Her absence was louder than her presence had ever been. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. We texted at first, then less, then only on birthdays, then not at all. I told people we'd ended things mutually, that we'd wanted different futures. That timing had been off. All of that was true, and none of it explained the real problem. The truth was simpler. I'd confused emotional restraint with maturity. I thought love was about not needing anyone. I didn't realize love is about choosing someone, out loud. One night, months later, I found her sweater in the back of my closet. I don't know how it ended up there. It smelled like nothing by then. Just fabric. Just memory. I sat on the floor longer than I meant to, thinking about all the moments I'd stayed quiet because it felt safer. Thinking about how silence doesn't protect relationships. It slowly starves them. I never called her, not because I didn't miss her, but because I knew it was too late. Some lessons arrive only after the person who taught them is gone. Now, when people ask me what happened, I say, she wanted a future I was too afraid to step into. That's the most honest answer I've found. Time didn't fix it. It just gave me clarity. And clarity, it turns out, can hurt just as much as loss. I still believe in love. I just know now that it doesn't wait forever. Some people leave quietly, not because they didn't care, but because they cared long enough on their own.